Benjamin Franklin was famous for saying that there are two things in life that are absolutely certain: death and taxes. Well, when you are Christian, both of those things get called into question. Death is not our birthright. It's not our destiny. We follow the one who conquered death. And while all of us will have to experience at some point dying, we have overcome death because of Christ. And taxes are something that people pay in a democracy. And we, in our deepest sense, are not part of a democracy. We're part of a kingdom. You may remember from a high school civics class that taxes are what are paid in a democracy, not in a kingdom. Because in a democracy, the citizens elect their own representatives and they collect all of their money to be distributed according to the needs of the democratic state. But kingdoms are different than that. We don't pay taxes. We lay our tribute at the feet of the king. Citizens of a monarchy don't pay taxes, they pay tribute. With taxes, the government takes what we give and makes sure that everyone is taken care of. In a monarchy, the king uses the tribute to take care of everyone on the king's own. So for the past few weeks, we've been getting ready for Christ the King Sunday by imagining where all that we have comes from. And we've been able to assert with faith that everything we have comes from God. And everything we have is going back to God. Another way to say that is the way my uncle, the retired cop in Troy, says it. He says, "Scotty, pay attention. You're never going to see a U-Haul following a hearse to the cemetery. Never." So we're being asked to consider what it means that giving is in our DNA, that it's part of being human, that you can't be human and not give. It's bad for your spiritual health. Maybe a good way to describe it is when we don't give and we're called to give, we feel congested spiritually. We wind up being filled with spiritual congestion. So today, we are going to talk about what it means to make some prayerful decisions about what to do with that drive that we have to give. And this is the perfect time to do it because we are entering a season where we are going to be asked to give more than at any other time. You won't be able to go to Stewart's without seeing just to the left of the cash register a little container for sharing with the poor. When you come to church, we're going to have second collections, like today for the Campaign for Human Development, next week for Catholic Charities. As you exit, you're going to see signs for Warm a Soul, our sock drive to give socks to the homeless in our community. There's all sorts of things that are going to be happening all the time this time of year that are going to be calling on us to give. And if we don't have a plan, if we haven't prayed about what our intentions are and what our calling is, we're going to constantly feel overwhelmed. If you haven't already, soon you're going to receive in the mail an envelope from the Diocesan Appeal. And we're being asked to figure out what we're going to do about having a record crop of future priests. We have 30 future priests in the pipeline for the Diocese of Albany, which is a wonderful, wonderful circumstance, except it means we've got 30 kids in college all at once, including Father Matt Duclos, who many of you here know well, because he is going on for 2 years of further study in Rome. So we're going to be asked over and over again for very good things, causes that matter. And we have to figure out what of the resources that we have actually belong to the king as tribute. And in the theology of the king, we must always give our first fruits not the leftovers. The king always gets the first fruits, the best of the crop, the first cut of the meat, the fatted lamb. That's what always goes to the king. So when we realize that we are not designed to live on 100% of our goods, but a lesser amount, less than 100%, we realize that there's a certain amount that is just naturally designed to be tribute for the king. I shared with you last week that I have discovered by praying about it that my amount of tribute is coming from the fact that God has revealed to me that I'm supposed to live on 90% of my salary. Now, that's not true for everybody. That's true in my case. But all of us are called to live on less than 100% so that there can be that tribute there. So we're going to talk today about how we can approach this spiritually. And we thought that maybe the best way to do it would be to give some silent time during the homily so you could just maybe be guided to pray about the questions that were being asked on Christ the King Sunday. So the first question is, has it become clear to you what amount you're meant to live on from your income or your resources? What is the right amount for you? Is it 97%? Is it 95%? Is your tribute to the king supposed to be 3% or 5%? Or in my case, 10%? The next question would be, when you know what that percentage is, how will you decide where it goes? In a lot of churches, they would tell you, just give that whole amount to the church. But for Catholics, that doesn't make sense to us. We have so many causes that we care about. And we know that the holiday season and all around the year, we're going to be asked by really important causes for the needs that they have. So here's a question for you. When you figure out what amount is your tribute for the king, would you be willing to give half of that amount to the parish, to the place where you're most regularly and most likely going to encounter your faith and encounter the king on a weekly basis? Would you consider giving half to the parish? After that, the next question becomes, what is a cause that I have a particular calling to follow? What is it that God has put in my heart that I need to make a high priority so that I can sustain this cause? For me, since I arrived here, it has been St. Mary St. Alphonsus Regional Catholic School. I am in love with that school. And I want to just say, if nothing else touches you, imagine 200 kids in the North Country getting a Catholic education right on our campus. It's unbelievable. So I've decided that I'm going to make that my first charity donation. I'm going to give 1% of my income to that because that feels like something I want to sustain. Might it be that that's also true for you? Maybe. But maybe instead it's going to be St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Or it's going to be the Open Door Mission. Or I just learned that locally we have something called Project Cameron for families that have a child in the NICU so that they can give books so the parents can bond with their children. Maybe it's the Make-A-Wish Foundation, or it's the Diocesan Appeal, or it's some other cause that is in your heart. What would be the next item that would be receiving your full attention? Now, there are some things that we give to, but that are not going to make this list, because not everything that we give to is a charity. So even though we may cough up some donations here and there, being part of our office fantasy football pool, that's not going to be on the list of things that we're talking about. Nor would a subscription to a Catholic magazine or a podcast. You know, that's part of something wonderful, but it's a hobby. Nor would giving to a political party. That's not something that falls under the realm of charity from a faith standpoint. So one of the things that we wanted to do to give you just a few moments to be able to pray about this, where 2 or 3 are gathered and the prayer is a little bit stronger, is to take a look at this trifold that you received when you came in. And it's meant to give you a chance to start to think about your percentage of tribute and how much of that you want to go to the parish and how much of it you want to go to other charities. If you open it up, you're going to see that 1/3 of it, the white part, is something that you can tear off and give to the parish. And I'd like you to just notice that you can give your information there and think about e-giving. But on the backside, it's asking, have you considered what commitment you'd like to make? Is this the first time you've ever thought about making a commitment? And you can sign right there. Or maybe, are you going to keep your commitment where it is, but maybe we just don't know what it is right now, and you can tell us? Or would you like to increase your commitment over what it's been? And then, would you take some of this time to consider what is the cause, the one or two causes that need your attention in a bigger way? Might it be that it's the Open Door Mission, or Next Steps Center, or the Humane Society, depending on what God has put in your heart? So let's take a couple of moments now just to be in God's presence and give some prayerful thought to this. And if at the end of this time you wish to turn it in with your collection, you could do that. You could bring it back next week, and you can take some time outside of here. But let's just take some quiet together to consider, what is it that the King has given me that I am meant to give to the tribute fund of the King in this world? Thank you for giving some time for this question, a question that is at the heart of what living out faith really means. One final word before we conclude, and that is a word of explanation about what you'll find in your bulletin today. There's a yellow sheet there that is an opportunity for you to enroll as an e-giver, which I'd like you to consider because it is the very best way to help the parish. And there's a couple of reasons why. E-giving means that your gift reaches the parish even if there's a snowstorm on a Saturday night and Sunday that shuts everything down. Even if you're a snowbird and you go to Boca for 3 months in the winter, it allows you to know that you're taking care of your parish with the intention that you set. It means that if there's another spike and churches get shut down as they were once for 3 months, that the churches don't starve from not having the donations of the members. So it's an opportunity for you to really make a difference. And a lot of folks are nervous about e-giving for a couple of reasons. And one of the things that we've done to make sure that we can put your mind at ease is we've aligned ourselves starting now with an organization called Faith Direct, which is like the industry standard for e-giving. They work with thousands of parishes and hundreds of thousands of Catholics. And the thing that makes them stand out is that their service is so good and their support for parishioners is so wonderful that more than 60% of their givers are 65 and over. The exact group of people that tends to be a little nervous or wary about e-giving, because they provide so much security and they provide so much support that people feel like it's easier to do it than not to do it. So you'll find that if you were to give this a try, you would love it. And our e-givers who've done it with our current vendor will tell you that, and this is going to be even better. So one of the things we'll let you know is if you check out there, if you decide that you want to give this a try, there's 4 different ways that you can enroll. One of them is to fill it out by paper and to send it in or to leave it with us at the welcome desk. Another way is to call their number. Another way is to go to their website. And the last way is to literally pick up your phone and text the word enroll to a 518 number, and you'll be enrolled automatically. So there are so many things that make this an easy way to give. Thank you for considering that, because it will help us so much. One of the things that we say when we say that Christ is our King is that everything we have comes from God, and everything that we have is going back to God. Or as my uncle would say, pay attention, Scotty. You never see a U-Haul following a hearse to the cemetery.